everyone, I'm Rachel Wolfson, the host and founder of Web3 Deep Dive Podcast. Web3 Deep Dive Podcast focuses on real-world Web3 use cases to help you better understand how Web3 is being applied today and how it may be leveraged in the future. If this sounds interesting, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share the content that you're seeing today to help spread the word about Web3. I'd also like to take the time to thank Web3 Deep Dive sponsors. Animoca Brands is sponsoring today's episode. As a worldwide industry leader in digital entertainment, blockchain, and digital property rights, Animoca Brands plays a key role in the future growth of Web3 and the open metaverse. With a portfolio of over 450 investments in products like the Sandbox, Phantom Galaxies, Life Beyond, and Mochaverse, Animoca Brands will keep building a better and fairer Web3 ecosystem, bringing true digital property rights to all internet users. Become a part of the excitement by going to animocabrands.com and by following them on Twitter with the handle @AnimocaBrands. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Web3 Deep Dive Podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode. Today I'll be speaking with Brian Evans. He is a Web3 and crypto entrepreneur who's doing really cool things in the space. So let's get started with today's interview. Hey Brian, how's it going?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you here. And this is actually our first time chatting, so I'm excited to get to know you better.
For sure, absolutely.
Cool. So where
Likewise.
are you calling in from, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles. I've been here almost 15 years now from Boston area before this.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm in Austin, so got a little bit of a time zone difference there.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So Brian, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you get involved in the Web3 space and what are you doing?
Yeah, it was really just by chance. Well, going back, I had a friend in college kind of time mining Bitcoin in the room next to me. So I was kind of aware of it from very early on, 2008. But I was running a marketing agency. I had a marketing agency working with everyone from major actors to major apps you've heard of, things like that. But just got really burnt out with the marketing agency kind of game. Basically got out of the agency, quit the agency. We were doing very well, but I was just had it kind of thing. And then I was just taking meetings with different people, and me and my former business partner, actually, we were meeting with somebody from Norway, I believe. Haven't even kept in touch, but we were just having lunch, just a chance lunch, and this is around 2014. And he told me about this thing called Ethereum, and it was about $2 at the time. And he said, take everything you have, sell everything you have, buy Ethereum. And I was like, what is this thing? Is this a virus? Like, I don't know what it is. It sounded super strange. Had no clue. I was aware of Bitcoin, but wasn't super aware of the other ones like Ethereum. But then looked into it and I was blown away. I was, oh my gosh, this could change everything. And just got super hooked on it, bought a lot of it. And just kind of went down that crypto rabbit hole from there. Everything I've been doing since basically 2014 has been crypto, and now sort of the broader Web3, NFTs, digital assets, and beyond. So it's been an interesting journey of being like traditional kind of, traditional digital marketing agency, then kind of completely switching gears to now I've done over 200 investments in crypto and Web3 projects personally as an angel investor, and work and advise a lot of projects. We incubate projects. I was on a TV show recently, so it's just come around. It blows my mind sometimes of how far down the rabbit hole I've gone.
Yeah, wow. And it all started in 2014 with Ethereum.
It did, yeah. I bought the Ethereum, and I didn't really know what it was at the time, but I started to learn what it was, and I was like, wow, this could be a new operating system of the internet. I saw connections to video games, and Vitalik, the creator of Ethereum, was playing video games previously, and this really caught my attention. And I noticed a lot of concepts that were in Ethereum that were similar to video game concepts, and as a gamer, that intrigued me a lot. And now, we're starting to see sectors of the industry like the Web3 gaming space, for instance, video game space, really starting to flourish. So it caught my attention for sure, and I've been hooked.
Cool. So let's unpack kind of what you've discussed. So you said that you're investing in, did you say over 200 different crypto and Web3 projects today?
lot of different projects. A lot have failed, and some have done well. I'm an angel investor, so what I learned was, and I had this problem in the Web2 world, right? I wanted to invest into the trending apps and things, and I found it very difficult to do that. And I didn't have the right network. If you're not an insider, if you don't have the right connections or hundreds of millions of net worth, good luck. You're not getting in early. You're going to be buying when it's IPO'd, right? And what attracted me to crypto too, really, is democratizing access to not even just investing, but buying the digital assets or investing in digital assets or companies or projects. And really the nature of the space has been that, allowing just anybody in. And if you think about crypto, pretty much anybody can get on a phone or a computer and access a exchange or a democratized swap and buy any crypto they want. Whereas in the traditional world, you can only do that when something's on the stock market, when it's at billions of valuation. So this democratization of access to, investing, for lack of another word, was intriguing to me. So when I saw this, I was like, I got to get into a lot of these. And I started, getting into different projects. And like I said, some have done incredibly well. So like Ethereum, bought that very early, and it's obviously done many, over 1,000x since then, or around that. And others that have not done well, but it's just the nature of a new industry, right? So I really like getting involved in trying to help projects as sort of a value add investor. So I'm working with a number of projects now, and from the gaming space to TV to various forms of blockchain crypto kind of projects and NFT projects and things like that.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said. I kind of resonate with, well, I don't invest in projects, but what intrigued me about the crypto space was how easy it was to, just be a part of it by buying Bitcoin and then holding that. And it really provided me with financial freedom, that feeling of financial freedom. Yeah. I've never really bought stocks or done anything like that, but I feel like with crypto, it was just so easy for me to enter the space and understand it and have that feeling of financial freedom. So I agree with you there on, just how you got started with investing in the crypto space versus like traditional investing.
And you nailed it there, because, access is a big part of it too. For, Bitcoin's one instance of it, and then things like NFTs, the access people have now in the Web2 world is very difficult. To build a network, you got to know the right people, and it's hard to get in, and people are very standoffish sometimes. But in the Web3 world, what really attracted me as well was you buy into some NFT project like a Bored Apes, or there's plenty of other ones, and the communities are just very welcoming. And, oh, you're a designer. Great. I'm working on something. I need a designer. I'll use you, or whatever your skill is. And many bonds have been formed and partnerships have been made, and people are running businesses within these communities, helping them do design work, developer work, marketing, all sorts of different things. And you didn't have that community like that as much in Web 2. It was just the broad social media networks that were very hard to navigate and find your home, your community. Whereas I feel like in Web 3, you can find your community a bit easier within some of these projects. I've had friends very successfully go into projects, join. We even have our own smaller sort of private community, but some of the bigger, more public ones are even better in that sense, because if you want to use your skills somewhere, you can get into that community and sort of showcase what you're doing, and people will utilize those skills. So the access is incredible right now. I tell people this is the best time to network, especially in a bear market when things are sort of down. People are looking to connect and work together and find collaborations and increase what they're doing and make improvements and stuff. So it's a really great time to network.
Yeah.
People are very receptive to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've made so many best friends and good friends because of the Web3 space and just at all the conferences and the people that you meet. It's been amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the NFT sector, because you mentioned that you've invested in NFT projects. I've also been following you on Twitter recently, where you've tweeted quite a bit about the NFT space today. So let's talk a little bit about that. What are your thoughts on the NFT space today, and how does that compare to what you've seen over time?
Well, for background, this is why I was so bullish originally on NFTs beyond everything. As a gamer, someone that played a lot of video games, I played the Call of Duties and the World of Warcrafts and different video games over the years, Diablos and different things like racing games. nobody wore the character on social media as their profile picture, right? It was very rare. You wouldn't really see that. You wouldn't use your Fortnite skin on social media for gamers. But what happened in the NFT space was you'd see everybody rocking these representations of themselves, basically these profile pictures that they bought from these projects on social media, and it created this viral trend where everyone's saying, "What's her profile picture? What's his profile picture? What is this?" And they were looking into it, and then they want to be part of the club, right? So they also wear the picture. And you never saw that before in Web 2. So I said, wow, this is, from a marketing perspective, this alone, the fact that people are doing this is incredible. You know, we're going to have, this is a viral moment, right? And that really attracted me, the fact that something could be that much more successful because more people are seeing it. They're really representing that brand. Even if you think about the Nikes and the Adidas of the world, yeah, we wear them physically, but not really on social media. You don't put like a picture of a Nike check as your social media picture, but people do that with NFT projects. They put the brand, they'll put the Bored Ape brand, they'll put the images on their social media profiles, and it helps promote them that much more. So that was like that was a starting point for me. Then I kind of went down the rabbit hole, and then I started to notice, okay, video games, for instance. Vitalik was playing video games, and there was elements from video games. One of them was called a soulbound token. That's a term from video games where it's linked to your character or your account. And they included this in Ethereum now. And there's all these similarities. The rules of Ethereum and the rules of a smart contract were very much like a video game. And I was thinking to myself, well, you know, what would be even better than just wearing these profile pictures would be video game characters where they, you know, you're expending effort and putting in time to this game, and you want to own a piece of that. So digital ownership, that's got me to digital ownership of when people invest their time into something, they want to feel like they can own it. So digital ownership of NFTs is just a perfect mechanism for this digital ownership. So I really think the video game space, even the film space, I'm helping a friend, very, very successful film producer called Rick Dugdale. He's working on a project, and there's a connection to NFTs and movies. So there's lots of different sectors of industries that are being disrupted, and nobody wants to be the blockbuster, right? So I think people are starting to slowly realize this. And then we're going to have our chat GTP moment still, right? I still think there's time for different parts of these industries to say, oh, that's what it's all about. And we're going to see that with video games, for instance. We're going to have a game that just takes off like crazy. It's going to have NFTs, it's going to have tokens, crypto as the in-game gold. And it's going to have that chat GTP moment where there's millions and millions of users overnight. People are going to go, that's it. And then guess what? All these game studios, many different sectors of different industries are going to go, that's what it's about. Okay, now we go in. They've been having their secret meetings and making their plans for a long time of what they're going to do with crypto. And we see it, right? I'm transitioning topics a little bit, but BlackRock, for instance, coming into the Bitcoin space, you know, they obviously had this plan for a long time. Larry Fink didn't just wake up one day and say, Bitcoin. You know, they've been thinking about this for a while and just wanted to come in at the right time. So we're, you know, it's kind of that precipice is close of real mainstream adoption, I feel like.
Yeah. And so do you think that mainstream adoption, I mean, I agree, you know, I feel like Web3 right now is kind of in the experimental phases where you see innovative brands like Alo Yoga, Adidas, Nike, they're all experimenting with Web3, but we haven't had that aha mainstream moment. But do you think that's going to come about through a video game?
It very well could. There's incredible things, especially the intersection of AI and Web3 for video games is really interesting. There's this concept called player agency in video games where players want to kind of customize their experience a lot more. So what AI can do is AI can, you know, it could, for instance, look at your social media profile and you could interact with it and it could change what the character in the game is doing based on you. Or you could sort of choose your own adventure kind of thing. So that's the trend in video games. And where Web3 comes in is that people put so much, when that happens, and even currently, I even put a lot of time into video games, and I don't even have a lot of time. But when you know, 15, 20 years ago, when I had more time, I put in way more time into video games, and people put a lot of effort into these. So when you put in so much effort, you really want to feel like you own some part of that. It feels kind of, it's sad when you kind of realize at the end of the day, you know, X company owns all that, and, you know, they closed down, or, you know, I'm not playing anymore, so I have nothing. And people spend tens of thousands of dollars on Fortnite skins and all sorts of things in games. So the idea of ownership, it's really just the natural evolution of video games. We kind of, if you think about video games, for anyone that's played video games, it's the Super Mario Brothers days of, jumping around. Oh, you die, game over. Okay, well, that's a closed loop game. And okay, I'm going to get some popcorn, have some tea, go have dinner. I'm going to stop playing. Then they got smart. They said, oh, well, let's just make games that go on forever. Let's just continuously have levels. You don't die, right? So then they made, the Angry Birds, the games that you could just have infinite levels, the Candy Crushes of the world, right? That just addict you and you play forever. Then they said, well, we got to go online and we can have 3D worlds. They made these Call of Duties, Fortnite, these big MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, and they made these beautiful, amazing worlds that people put even more time into. So they're putting so much time into these games, and then players are kind of, putting all this time into these games, and the only way to trade my items is like some black market, and doing something that it's not against the terms of service, you get banned, and then players are thinking, well, that character is me. I have made this character as a representation of myself. I want to own that. So now there's this idea of ownership, and that's across a lot of sectors. That's just not just video games, but especially in video games, it's so clear as a gamer that people really want this. And there's different parts of the world that are more, interested in this currently. Like in the West, it's a little bit kind of 50-50. Okay, maybe, yeah, they kind of get it. In the East, and I was talking to my jiu-jitsu instructor actually, and he was telling me that, yeah, he's like the samurai spirit, right? He was telling me. And he said people own a samurai sword, and it could be in their family for generations. Their great-great-great-grandfather may have owned it. Sometimes they believe these items, these swords, have a soul and a name, and they're so connected to it, right? So guess what? Same with digital items too. They can have a connection to it. So you notice certain parts of the world gravitate towards NFTs, for instance, because they believe in the connection more. And in that part of the world, for example, if you have bought an item that gives you an advantage in the game, they say, wow, you got that item. That's incredible. That's amazing. You're a great player. That's fantastic. In the West here, in the States, it's a bit more, oh, okay, you bought the good sword. That's why you're better, So there's a little bit of a split there in that. But I think those things will be worked out over time. But that's just why you see the transition, and that's why you see the pull happening to different parts of the world first. But I think over time, we're going to see globally a lot more adoption, especially mixed with AI. It's the perfect synergy of things to really get us that ChatGPT moment with Web3 video games.
Yeah, definitely. Before our interview, I was talking with Don Tapscott, who he wrote Blockchain Revolution and many other books. And he was also talking about the convergence of blockchain, AI, and machine learning. But apparently blockchain and AI is going to be huge. I mean, it's already big, but blockchain apparently is a very important component of AI. And I don't know if a lot of people realize that yet, but according to Don, blockchain will underlie that AI development. Everything will be running on blockchain networks.
I sure hope so, because, we've heard some of the scarier sides of AI, right? And you don't want the AI running out of control in some sci-fi movie scenario, right? So the fact that blockchain is transparent, it provides that base layer of security and stability, really makes sense to me.
Yeah. Brian, I also wanted to ask you about, so you are one of 3 judges on a new crypto or Web3 focused show. Is it called Finding the Hidden Crypto Gem?
The Next Crypto Gem.
The Next Crypto Gem.
Yes. The Next Crypto Gem. It's on a number of platforms. We got the air date September 7th. It'll be on, for example, Amazon, Apple TV, and it's actually on 170 different platforms in about 55 countries, 13 languages. So it's a very large global distribution. The company behind it is actually a distribution company, and they do shows regularly in different categories that have been very successful. So yeah, I met the producers last year sometime. It was an introduction from a friend, Brandon, and Kevin Harrington, who was on the original Shark on Shark Tank. And I think they approached him, and he was kind of like, I'm not a crypto guy. We'll talk to Brian. And they approached me, and then I was really interested by it. I didn't have a lot of information back then, so I kind of went on a whim. And then before I know it, I met the rest of them, and they were all great crypto people and everything. And they ended up casting George, Cryptos R Us, who's one of the top YouTubers, amazing guy, Leah Halpern, who's well known in the Bitcoin space, as the judges, the three of us. And it's a competition-based show, so it's kind of a mix of The Apprentice and, oddly enough, The Office, but in a very interesting way. So it's not really like Shark Tank. It's a couple similarity with Shark Tank. There is some pitching, but it's more competition reality, which I think people are going to be really surprised in a good way of how it kind of came out. So it was an incredible experience filming it, and there was really good competitors on the show. It was very honestly, I invest into, like I said, a lot of things, and I find that pretty easy at this point. This show was not easy. It was real. And we really had to decide, sometimes in seconds or minutes. Okay, judges, go to the back, decide. And we had 2 minutes. Everyone's waiting. We got to make a decision very quickly. And we had to deliberate and figure out, who's winning and who's losing this show. And they're standing there, 7 cameras on us, and we got to decide who's winning and who's losing. So it was stressful, but it was incredible. I think it came out great. I'm looking forward to seeing it as the first, mainstream crypto reality TV show, more so than even myself. There's an educational component to it. So there's a lot of cutaway moments where we kind of cut to camera and educate the audience about, what's an ERC20 token? What's this? What's Bitcoin? What's an NFT? What's Web3? And there's different moments in there where we have very practical takeaways. And I think the selection of projects by the producers and eventually the judges was great, because it was things that I can't give away the names of them or anything, but they were ones that the mainstream audience would understand partially, and through educating them more, we'll understand even more. So it was actually a really great experience in seeing, seeing how it plays out with presenting something to a very broad mainstream audience, and figuring out how to do that in a way that's still true to like crypto and Bitcoin, Web3, et cetera. So I think we did a good job. So I'm very excited to see it come out. It's already been picked up for season 2. So that's going to be even bigger and more episodes. I ended up through working on the show as a judge, they said, you should be like an associate producer and help us. And so they brought me in as a sort of associate producer, and I'm going to help with season 2, kind of find projects and help put things together. So it's been a really, really fun experience.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited to watch it. I was so excited to see that it's on Amazon, because I watch Amazon Prime all the time. Just throwing it out there. If you need a guest judge for season 2, let me know.
All right.
But I think it's
Absolutely.
so cool that it's the first mainstream Web3 focused show, which really says something about where we're at today, how Web3 is slowly but surely starting to make it into the mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as I mentioned before, the film side of things is also really interesting. So the whole entertainment category, from video games to film to TV, there is incredible. There's all different sort of use cases of Web3. So it's exciting to see all that happening. Even doing a TV show, I'm still absolutely most excited about video games, just because people don't realize, but this is the thing. More people play video, and a lot of people don't know this stat. More people play video games, and people look this up because they never believe me. More people play video games than watch TV and movies combined.
Wow.
And that's a crazy stat. And it includes casual games on your phone, whatever. But it's still a crazy stat. Not the TV or film or small or anything, but video games is just like half the world's population kind of thing, if not higher, are playing video games in some capacity. But the entertainment category is just ripe, I think, and I'm here in LA and see Hollywood stuff a lot, and it's a very old legacy industry, let's call it. And blockchain is pretty good at disrupting those. So
yeah, definitely. Actually, I want to get your thoughts a little bit more on, because you're in LA and that's kind of like the entertainment hub of the world.
Yeah.
How are people reacting towards blockchain when it comes to implementing that for like entertainment purposes? Are people excited about it, or are they still hesitant?
I think coupled with AI, there's real interest. a buddy works in my Affinity group. It's a collective we have, kind of a group of NFT people. Works at Paramount, and I have my friend Rick, who's he's the guy that CAA goes to. He did the first NFT movie with Anthony Hopkins, and it was a movie that you could watch using his platform with an NFT. So the ticket, so to speak, to watch it digitally in a metaverse was the NFT. So Hollywood is looking at people doing this, and they're starting to. I think it was. I think I just saw. Was it Warner Brothers? It was either Warner Brothers or someone like that. Just put out a Web3 movie where it's very.
I think it's Warner.
Yeah.
It's Alluvio, because I'm interviewing Michelle at some point with Alluvio.
Yeah, that's right. So they're doing this. They're very. I think that, and there's this whole category, Film 3 even they call it.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a Film 3 category where it's basically a spin on Web3 of, films using NFTs and movie and digital assets. And the idea of ownership of IP is a very interesting thing. However, it's not fully solved yet, because Hollywood with IP is difficult, right? The actors, the producers, there's conflict over who owns the IP. So some of that still has to be ironed out. But on a conceptual level, and I can't give away too much about this project, but people that I know are working on many different projects to basically democratize access to films digitally with Web3. So it's happening for sure. It's the same as the video game industry having the secret meetings and saying, let's have our strategy ready. Same as the BlackRock saying, hey, let's get a Bitcoin ETF, stuff ready to go. Just at the right time, swoop in. And it's the same thing is happening in Hollywood. There's heads of, I think CAA and others have head of Web3 positions and head of blockchain positions at some of these companies. It's a good sign. It really is a good sign. We're seeing it happening. I fully see a future where your movie ticket is an NFT and you can own a piece of IP from the movie. Think about some of these cult hit classic movies, smash hit movies. That like a Matrix as an example. Imagine the fans being able to own a piece of that one day. And it's, all these old guard industries that, don't like transparency and, want to own everything and be centralized. As we're seeing from within this industry, that's all changing. So they're going to have to, someone's going to disrupt them. They're going to be the blockbusters otherwise. So they can try to hang on for as long as they can. A few of them might last a while. The rest will be dinosaurs. Someone's going to come around and just disrupt the model. So the ones that aren't pivoting and adapting to this and embracing it are definitely going to be left behind.
Yeah. You made me think that it's too bad the Barbie movie isn't doing anything in the Web3 space, because that marketing is insane. I mean, imagine if there was like a Barbie NFT, that would have sold out like immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's my generation. If you can see them here, my background. I've got collectibles. My generation, a lot of generations have to collect baseball cards, figurines, all sorts of different things, collectibles. I'd love to collect digital collectibles from movies. Yeah. Right. And then it gets into experiences too. There's all sorts of different angles that just make a lot of sense. And for the producers of these movies, they can make more money, right? So that's what they want. They want more money. So if they can make more money and, let others be a part of it, I think it's a win for everybody.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, especially as the world becomes more digital, we're going to want to own those digital collectibles.
Absolutely.
On top of the physical assets, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, digital ownership of many things is coming. It's, even real estate and things like, some of the ways that various real world assets work now of ownership is really old school. Mm-hmm. But something like a blockchain where it's immutable and you can really track it to a definitive degree makes a lot of sense. So,
right.
Yeah.
So Brian, I want to get your thoughts on, because we're talking about all these great use cases and ways that NFTs can be leveraged in the real world. But do you think that, right now with NFT prices, at least, things are down, the market is down. Do you think that's impacting real world application of NFTs? Or do you think that the two have just remained completely separate, which, they should remain separate because NFTs aren't really just about the financialization?
I think the smartest minds know how the cycles work. So if you think, as one example, I keep mentioning BlackRock, they're coming in a bear market, right? They're coming in strategically at a specific time. What the mistake is that traditionally people make is they say, let's wait for the euphoria of the bull market and invest and launch our projects and do things. But everyone's doing it then, right? And you're going to be washed away in the crowd. And I think now is an opportune time because it's only the real serious people that really are into this, that really believe in it are around. If others have, whether they've had to for financial reasons or not, moved on to other things, got a job somewhere else, done something in a different industry because they've had to, or lost interest in the bear markets, that happens, and we see those cycles. So what we're seeing now with different parts of AI and NFTs we're still seeing usage happening. It's just the phase we're at in the market of course, what happens basically is all the money goes up to Bitcoin in these times, and it gets sucked away from things like NFTs. But it's going to flip again. Bitcoin, let's say, goes 100K in the next halving, which a lot of people think it will. Well, guess what? People are going to say, wow, I made a bunch of money. What should I? Oh, let's go back into the NFTs. Mm-hmm. And then NFTs go back up. So it's just a cycle. It's just a repetitive cycle that goes, money, the markets go up, and then people say, great, I've made a bunch of money. I'm going to divest into other things. Markets go down. They go, oh, no, I better go into the safest thing. What's that? Bitcoin or Ethereum or maybe something NFTs. But it's just the cycles that we're in. So when you just follow the cycles, you can see why we are where we're at. But we saw mainstream celebrities like Eminem and Snoop Dogg, wearing Bored Apes and NFTs. These are not going to just disappear overnight, like some people think. It's not going to. Sure, so a certain project may. Here and there, but as a category, this is not going anywhere. It's going to be huge. It's going to be even bigger than it was before. It's just a cycle, just where we are in the cycles. But people get scared. Markets are down. People go to what they feel is the safest thing, and then when they make a bunch of money again, they say, time to take some chances again. That's just how the cycles work. It's just the same thing over and over again. If you understand and follow the cycles, you can make a lot of money and catch the right trends. And we can see, I can go on Twitter now in 5 to 10 minutes and tell you what the narrative in the feeling of an industry is. That's kind of where we are with things. It's pretty obvious. So doesn't take rocket science to figure that out. You just need to understand where we're at in those cycles, I think, to be able to navigate them appropriately.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm excited for real world use cases of NFTs. I was at VCon. Were you there this year?
I wasn't at VCon, no.
Okay. So I got to interview Gary Vee, and we talked about NFT ticketing use cases, and that actually seems like one, and you even mentioned that, that seems like one of the best applications for NFTs in the real world. It just makes so much sense to use them as ticketing platforms. Anything
that can stop counterfeiting, that's a no-brainer. Any kind of ticketing to, events, movies, anything. It's immutable on a blockchain. There's no, shady guy in the parking lot trying to sell you a fake ticket. You know what I mean? It just doesn't happen. And as the technology, there's some pretty good technology out there where you can, because one of the arguments was, you're going to bring your NFT, but now there's apps you can verify at home and bring a QR code, which solves the problem of, carrying around a hot wallet with your NFTs on them. So we have good solutions now for those things, and they're pretty, makes a lot of sense. I think we'll see the entire ticketing business disrupted due to this. So it's a great use case. And that gets into all sorts of, digital identity, I think it's just, again, counterfeiting. It's like, well, if you want to prove that something's real, it's better to be on a blockchain. You don't want, I have a piece of paper or a plastic card that says my name on it. Like, that's something I could fake or could counterfeit. Whereas digital is much harder. You need very sophisticated skills to do that. Whereas, here I'm in LA, I could probably find a counterfeiter and, down the street if I really wanted to. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about crypto or just investing in Web3 projects, because that's what you do. So how do you decide which projects that you want to invest in? Like, what piques your interest?
So nowadays, and this is what I also tell people to do. It's like, if you don't take the average person investing, right? You don't have the most money to invest, but you might have a skill. So I call it a value-added investor, where you can come in and say, hey, I'm a designer, and I also can invest some money into your project. I'll help you with some design work, and I'll also give you some money. Maybe we can make a deal. Put in a little bit of sweat equity. And you couldn't do this in Web 2. You go to Uber, like when they were taking off, and come to them with that pitch, and they'd be like, we can maybe hire you for some small job or something, but it wouldn't have really worked. But the Web 3 crowd is very receptive to this. So you can come in as a value-added investor if you have a network or some skills you can provide. So just before even selecting the project, that's one approach you can take, is say, I'm a value-added investor. I can do X, Y, or Z. And I also have some money. I don't have the biggest check, but I can help you with something. Your marketing, I can help you run your social media. I can do X, Y, or Z. And that can get you a leg up from many others. And most projects are very receptive to this. This is really good alpha for people that are like wanting to invest, but they're saying, I only have $1,000 to invest. So how could it, I'll get a 5X. Okay, yeah, it's cool, but like it's not enough. But you could maybe negotiate and say, hey, maybe I could get a $10,000 ticket, so to speak, in your project, or chunk of whatever it is, tokens, NFTs, equity. But I'll help you, and I'll give you a little bit of money, but I can't pay $10,000. I could pay $2,000 and put in $8,000 of work, something like that, right? So this is just an idea. I even do this to this day. But that's the starting point. And then I think you have to decide your categories. For me, it's video games. And I'll do the same model. I practice what I preach. I'll either, full on incubate the project like we're doing with one game now called Alpha District, or I'll just come in casually and say, here, I can help you with your game or your project, and in whatever capacity I can help you with networking. We can do some events. We're going to do some Twitter spaces, any way that I can help those categories that I like. And I think you have to think about it more. What my perspective is, you're always going to have projects that really take off and ones that don't. It can be, for the average person, it's very hard to figure out what are going to be the winners, what are going to be the losers. So think about categories. So if you really like the video game category, for instance, get in a bunch of video game projects. Don't just try to pick one winner. Try to get in a bunch of them, and you can take small bets, right? Especially with crypto, you can buy $10 of something, and we do see crazy returns on some of these sometimes, right? You do see the 500Xs, 100Xs, it does happen. In right now, where we are in these markets, we're low, right? So for everything's pretty much, we've had things at all-time highs for many of these projects was, over a year ago, for instance. And now they're pretty bottomed out. So, but not dead, right? So they're just bottomed out, and they have some of these. You can look at the communities. That's another telltale sign of, potential when the markets kind of come back around and, that euphoria kicks in again, the ones that'll go up, the ones that really still have those diehard communities behind them that are still like, okay, we're really into this still. I won't even mention all the ones, but I was talking to another video game the other day they're in that situation. They're lower, but they still have that die-hard community that's like, we love this game, we love this ecosystem you're building, and you can feel that. So if you look at the communities around them, that's another telltale sign. So it's not just about the price and the charts. Like, if you're like a charting person, you can look at it and say, okay, this one's probably going to have more likely chance to return, et cetera. But sometimes those hidden gems are hard to find, and you got to really dig in and look at the communities, get a feel for it. But you can feel it within those communities. But so, I think categorically you pick your bets based on a category. This is how I do it. I say I like these categories, and I try to make as many bets as possible in that category, thinking, okay, these are probably one of these are going to really take off, and maybe a couple others will do pretty well, a couple might fail, rather than putting everything in on one project, so to speak, right? And that's like any investing. You may not want to put everything in on one project. You want to kind of spread it out a little bit, not too much to the point where you're not going to make anything if something takes off. But that's kind of, and for me, it's as well, it's like I also like the Web3 film category. So I'm getting into anything and everything I can find in that category. So I again pick my categories, and I'm going into these. And also, the way I look at it, so as I was mentioning before, as a value-add investor, I want to get into things that I can help. So if I feel like I don't know anything about this category, I can't help you. I don't know how to help you. It's too techie or whatever for me. Then I may not go into it because I feel like I can't help move the needle. I don't understand it. I might not go into it. So, you might want to have some information or understand or like the category that you're in. Because for instance, video games, if you're not a video gamer, you might be like, I don't know how to pick the right game, so I'm not going to go into them. And that's fine. That's totally fine. And that's probably how you should do it, because you might make the wrong bet. Unless you have someone helping you say, okay, this one, then it might be a different situation. So there's a lot of, especially with where we are in these markets, there's a lot of bets you could make that'll probably turn out okay. It's not that all of them will, they definitely won't, but usually you want to invest when things are down here and sell when they're up here. People usually do that backwards.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the good news is that there are so many different sectors that Web3 is impacting. So there are so many different projects out there that could appeal to a number of people. Like you said, there's video games, there's film, there's marketing, there's AI, there's, so much.
The blockchains themselves, you can invest in those. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw an email. So is it Elon Musk, his new AI company? They're doing something now with NFTs. Do you know what I'm talking about? I need to look back at that email. What's
XAI?
XAI.
I actually haven't looked into it too much. I don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It's part Elon's Elon, right? So he's obviously, he's both the biggest bull and the biggest critic of AI. It's kind of funny. He's like, it could destroy the world, but I'm launching a new AI company.
Right.
But it's going to be like, set up in a way that like it can't turn into some, sci-fi movie essentially. He's right. AI is, we see it with ChatGPT. It's extremely powerful, and it only makes sense to couple blockchain technology with AI. Again, you were talking about before, some of those projects doing the base layer with blockchain to kind of keep it in order and make sure it runs how it's supposed to run, and like not have some, psycho situation where the AI, tries to take over, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm curious to hear more. I should read that press release about what they're doing. I think it's just generative art. So basically the AI can generate an NFT, but that's art that was done like seriously a year or so ago, like nothing new there, but because it's Elon Musk's company, that's going to attract a lot of attention.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Generative art is incredible. I mean, there's some downsides. Some of the artists feel ripped off when it's one of my really famous artist friends was telling me that he was doing some AI generation of his own stuff, and he was like, some of it just literally like basically copy and pasted like some of his art and put it in there and changed it a little bit. And he's like, as the artist, I can see that that part of it was copy and pasted. But beyond that, and I think there's obviously some kinks to work out. Beyond that, it's incredible. It's really mind blowing. Even for video games, they have such good AI now for level generation for video games, for instance, and this goes into film as well. I can just draw very sloppy, like a 5-year-old would. Draw a window here, door over here, little level like this. So here's a walkway, just very sloppy. And the AI will say, okay, boom, beautiful.
Wow.
And it makes a really, very quickly makes an amazing level. And that's where these idea of, AI in film, et cetera, comes in. I was also looking at another one where they took popular movies, and they took like a frame of The Matrix, and it had like the regular frame of cropped like this, and then they expanded it with the AI and shown what was below and what was above. And it was, you're watching it, in a vertical form, and it looked like it was just, you just looked like you were just watching the movie. You couldn't even tell that some AI had made, the film producers didn't even make this. This was AI making this, and it was crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what's to come with AI, but especially when it's being applied with blockchain.
Yeah.
Brian, we're going to wrap things up a little bit here. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners before we end our conversation? Maybe something that I didn't already ask you about?
No, I mean, I think, it's just an incredible time, honestly. This is what this conversation makes me remember, is that, everything happening with AI and Web3, and, we're just at this precipice right now. I can feel it within the world that I'm in of, this. It was like crypto early on. It was like, you know what, this is going to be the same feeling I had with Ethereum back when it was $2. I was saying, wow, this can change everything. And it did. And we're kind of the same place now with Web3 and AI. is, wow, this could change everything. And guess what? It's going to.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited also. I'm also excited because of the recent XRP court ruling, which which, isn't saying we have a clear regulatory framework yet, but it's a step in the right direction. And it brought a lot of excitement to the crypto industry that I haven't felt in a really long time.
I know.
It's like finally people are excited again. And that's a step in the right direction. We're getting closer.
So good. Oh, absolutely. So good. And it was, it was just great to see that. And it just made a lot of sense too when I was reading some, I didn't even read the whole entire full legal ruling, because it's you need to be a lawyer to kind of interpret half of it. But just seeing people's takes of it and stuff was, wow, it looks really, obviously it is what it is. It's something, but I think it shows that people are going to realize. And, I was talking to some friends that are actually not in this industry, and they were saying, you know what? We kind of saw this too, because we saw all this stuff in the mainstream media, very negative, SEC is going after everybody. The way they want you to think is that previously everybody is a bad actor. And he was telling me, he's like, do I think everybody in this space is a bad actor? Is that even possible? He's like, no. So he's like, yes, what's the alternative? They're full of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody's not a bad actor. He's like, it's just not happening. Now you get Larry Fink from BlackRock, and we can make your argument about, that kind of big money, but they're seeing something in this space, right? So they're not just coming in, it's not some shady operation, right? It's a $1 trillion fund or whatever, right? So it's good to see, people realizing that everybody in this space can't be a bad actor. Obviously, there's just, aggression at some 3-letter agencies.
Right, exactly. Some aggression, but yeah, it's a step in the right direction. So I'm excited for that. Brian, this has been a great conversation. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, just Twitter. Brian D. Evans is my username. You can probably reach me there.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Brian, thanks again for coming on the podcast, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks. Special thanks to Aaron Bender for producing Web3 Deep Dive podcast. I'd also like to thank the sponsors behind Web3 Deep Dive. Finally, thanks to the listeners for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you guys next time.